So this is lesson 1.5 in elementary algebra. It's called multiplication and division of real numbers. And what we've done prior to this is we did addition of real numbers and then we did subtraction of real numbers. But if you remember when we did subtraction like this, we rewrote it as an addition problem. Okay, so we really just did two different methods of adding regular numbers and adding negative numbers. When we are doing subtraction, we change it to an addition problem. So that's what we did in the past couple lessons. In 1.5, we're going to do multiplication and division. So first of all, as far as multiplication is concerned, when you have no sign, when you just have two numbers stuck together like that, with a parenthesis separating the two, this little parenthesis right there, you assume that it's multiplication. So the signs are the same, they're both positive, so your answer is positive. When I have something where the signs are the same, even though they're both negative, the answer is still positive. So when the signs are the same, your answer is always positive, regardless of whether they're negatives or positives. If the signs are the same, you get a positive. If the signs are different, you get a negative. Okay, so different signs, you get a negative for an answer rather than a positive. And that's pretty much the rule for this. Doesn't matter what order it is. If I had -3 times +5, the signs are different. So you just multiply the number and you put a negative sign in front of it because the signs are different. Okay, so that is the key part of the multiplication. And when you're dividing, it's the exact same thing. If you've got the signs are the same, your answer is positive. If the signs are different, your answer is negative. And we'll get to that pretty quick. Let's see here. Let's jump all the way down to example 2, bottom of page 48, because for the most part, everything up to this is what we were just doing. So for example 2, they have -8, let me get my pen working, times -3. Signs are the same, you get a positive answer. 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, when you have -10 times -5, signs are the same, you get a positive, you multiply and you get 50. And you don't have to put the plus sign in front of these numbers. I just do that just to start out with, just so you know that they're there. So a positive times a negative, signs are different, so you get a negative answer. 5 times 7 is 35. Okay, I'm not going to do all of them, except I would like to do, no, I'm just going to stop there. They don't really get any harder than that, and if you get that part of it, you've got it all. So why go through all 6 of those? All right, so let's do some from example 3, where we've got a lot of numbers strung together here. Okay, one of the things, the book doesn't teach this, I don't think, but I'm gonna teach it to you. If you've got a whole string of numbers multiplied together like we do there, one of the key things you can do is you can count the number of odd numbers, or count the number of negatives. And if the number of negatives is odd, like there's 3 of them, that's an odd number, then your answer is going to be negative. And you don't even have to worry about the negatives then. Just count the negatives, and if there's an odd number, your answer is negative. So then you can just do your multiplication. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 times 4 is 60. And you're done. Okay? That makes it a little bit easier, because sometimes you're going to get something like this. And all you have to do is count your negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a even number of negatives, so our answer is positive. 3 times 2 is 6, times 3 is 18, times 4 is 72, times 2 is 144. Okay, so I know my answer is positive just because I have 4, an even number of negatives there. So anyway, that is helpful, because then you're not having to mess with the negatives. You're just multiplying the numbers together. So let's look at B in example 3. Now remember, we're still using PEMDAS. Always. You will use PEMDAS until you die. That is just part of it. So, we don't have any parentheses with anything in there. I mean, we do have, parentheses here and here, but there's nothing being done there. They're just separating the -3 from the 4 and the -5 from the 6. We don't have any exponents, but we do have multiplication, so we're going to multiply. 4 times -3 is -12. 6 times -5 is -30. Minus 10. So now we're going to add. -12 plus -30, both signs are negative, so we have same signs, so we're going to get, I guess I should, oops, alright, pushed the wrong button there. Alright, again, you look at the largest number, and it's negative, and then the signs are the same, so you add them. Then we're going to change this to just putting a plus there and a parenthesis. And we have -42 plus -10. The largest number is -42, and it's negative, so we put a negative on the answer. Since the signs are the same, we add them. And we're done with that one. Alright, so let's keep plugging away at these. Let's look at C. -2 cubed. Alright, what does that mean? That means -2 times -2 times -2. How many -2's do I have? I have 3, which is what I have there. So this goes back to what I said. If you have an odd number of negatives, your answer is negative. So you just put a negative there, and then you cube the 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So you don't even have to worry about that stinking negative sign. You just go ahead and cube the 2, and because it's an odd number on the 2, it's going to be a negative. Alright, D is -3 times -2 cubed minus 5 times -4 squared. Alright, so let's look at PEMDAS again. And it says parentheses. We don't have anything to do in the parentheses, but we do have exponents. So -3, and I'm just going to leave that in the parenthesis. So -2 cubed minus 5, -4 is going to be 16, because this is an even number, so our answer is going to be positive. So -3 times -8. A negative times a negative is always positive. And we have a minus 5 times 16. That is not a -5, it's a minus, so we put a negative there. And how do I know it's a negative? Well, you will never have a -5 being done to something like this without it being in parentheses. If this was a multiplication, it would be in parentheses. But since it's not, I know it's a minus. Because if I was going to multiply that times that -8, it would be in front like that one there is, and it's not, it's after. So I know it's a minus, and then it's 5 times 16, which is 80. Okay, so I have a 24 plus a -80. Signs are different. Well, the 80 is the biggest number, so I know my answer is negative. The signs are different, so I take the difference between the two numbers and get a 56. Okay, now I do this so much different than the book, and after teaching it all these years, it just seems like this is the easiest way to do it. 6 minus 4 times 7 minus 2. Alright, again, we have PEMDAS. I probably should put it on there permanently so I'm not writing it. Parentheses first. There's my parentheses. Multiplication. And subtraction. So I'm going to change that to a -20. Sign is on the biggest number is a negative. Signs are different, so I take the difference between the two, and I'm done. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the multiplication. Let's jump down to the division here, and let's just jump into middle of page 50, example 4. The rules for multiplication or division are the same as multiplication. 2 negatives give you a positive. 2 positives give you a positive. If the signs are different, you get a negative. Okay, so if I have 6 divided by 2, okay, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 6 divided by negative 2. I have an odd number of negatives, so I know my answer is going to be negative. Then I just do 6 divided by 2 is 3. Negative 6 divided by 2. I have an odd number of negatives. My answer is negative. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Negative 6 divided by negative 2. I have an even number of negatives, so my answer is positive. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay? That's pretty much all there is to that. If you look at example 5, you'll notice that those are pretty much the same as what we did. One of the things I do want to bring up is if we have something like 12 over 6, and we have that, just to let you know that that is the same, or that is equal to 12 over negative 6, okay, which is also equal to negative 12 over 6. Okay, so let's look at this one. Negative over a positive is a negative. 12 divided by 6 is 2. A positive over a negative is a negative. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 12 divided by 6 is 2. We bring down the negative. Stick it on there. Okay, so they all equal the same thing. So really, really helpful that you can move those negative signs around, and makes life better. So let's do some that are a bit more complicated. Negative 4 times 5 over 6. And one of the things that I teach is if there's stuff going on in the numerator or in the denominator, do the numerator and the denominator first. Simplify it so that there's one number on top, one number on bottom, if at all possible, and then divide. So negative 4 times 5 is negative 20 over 6. Okay, there's one negative sign there, so our answer is negative. 20 divided by 6 just reduces to 10 over 3. And again, it doesn't matter if that 10 goes there, or the negative goes there, if it goes there, or if it goes there. It does not, there. Does not matter. These are all the same answer. Okay, so that should help a little bit. Alright, so if we have 30 over negative 4 minus 5. Okay, 30 is already one number, so we don't have to do anything to that. But negative 4 minus 5 is negative 4 plus negative 5. Okay, so we have 30 over 4 plus negative 5. The 5 is the biggest number, it's negative, and the signs are the same, so we add them, and we get 30 over 9. And then we see if there is, if that's reducible. Is there a number that goes into both 30 and 9? Well, 3 goes into that, 3 goes into that, so that gives me 10 over 3, and I have a negative there, and I'm done. Alright, so I'm going to continue on with a second video, and we will finish up this lesson.